All right, hello and welcome everyone. This is Robert Dixon. Nice to see you. Thanks for being here today. This is our Market Mainframe monthly VIP coaching call. I appreciate everybody being here this week. Um, I had something all planned having to do with real estate and getting real estate leads and leads for mortgage brokers and stuff like that. And over the course of the week, it became apparent that what's on everybody's mind, and it's not really surprising, it's just everything having to do with the global pandemic, the coronavirus, and just what that could mean for local agencies and what if there's a recession, and everybody's questions seem to revolve around that. We've seen that in support, we've seen that on Facebook, we've seen that on other presentations we've done this week. And so I talked to Neil this morning, and I said, I think it might be good if we address this, just because I feel like I have some useful knowledge to share, and I'll go over it in a minute. But I started my agency during the Great Recession, as they call it, about 12 years ago. And so anyway, so that's what we're going to talk about today. It seems to be something that people want to hear about. I have a presentation plan that I put together this morning, and I'm happy to answer questions and just kind of discuss, how we as digital agency owners and digital marketers can help our business and help our clients' businesses and potential clients' businesses as we go into this unknown period, with where, and that's the biggest thing. And then it says that here on my first slide, so much is just that we don't know what we don't know. And so as answers start to come, we'll be able to react a little better to everything. But in the meantime, I feel like there's some things we need to keep in mind, and that's what we'll talk about today. So uh, again, thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. And we're just gonna jump right in. So let me get a quick sip of water, and then we'll dive right in here. Okay, so I forgot to mention, please, when you come in, post where you're coming from and who you are and stuff like that in the chat box if you can. But definitely throughout this more than even any other, ask questions. I'm happy to answer questions, address specific situations, and just this is for you guys. So I'm happy to share whatever knowledge I have with you. So anyway, I'm sure everybody's story is similar to mine. This week has been kind of crazy. We've been staying in the house. Today was the first time I've left like a 1 block radius around my house. I had to go up to my office, which is about 30 miles away, to pick up something very important for tax purposes, and it was just weird, like not many people out, and it was just a lot different than usual. And then I came right back home. So we're homeschooling children. My kids' school is right across the street, which is really nice. We just send them across the street every day. And this week they've been in, which has made working a little bit more challenging. It's just very interesting time. I see a question from Eric. Are we equipped to offer directory listing setup service, or are we only equipped to offer reputation management? I'm assuming you mean with the Review Stack software. If so, the Review Stack software is for reputation management. It's different facets of reputation management, but it doesn't involve any kind of directory listing service. Like maybe citations, do you mean? Like getting listed on Yelp and in Yellow Pages and things like that? If so, no, that is not part of the Review Stack. Okay, citations, yes. I do have a recommendation. It's a citation service. It was recommended to me, and we've used it a few times and have been very happy with it. I forget the name of it, but let me look it up. I have it in my notebook right here. If you can bear with me for a second. It's called localcitationservices.com. It was recommended to me by a marketer that I know and respect, and I know it does very well with that kind of thing. And and I've used them again a couple times and have had fine experiences with it. So local citation services, I think I said .com. So all right. So building and growing a business in a potential global pandemic and or potential recession, which it seems like we may be coming into. This kind of kicked it off. The biggest problem now is that we don't know exactly what to expect. We don't know what we don't know, and this makes people afraid, and it causes them to freeze up a bit. And of course, that fear is what creates recessions in the first place. People get worried that other people are going to stop spending and that they may not have as much income, and so they stop spending, and it just kind of is like a snowball effect, which is funny because it's all mental. In most cases, recessions are rarely caused by something like this virus. They're usually just caused by people acting a certain way, and then that causing people to get scared, and so they act that same way, and it just like a stock sell-off. They see people selling stock and they're like, oh man, well, if I don't sell now, I might lose money. And so then they sell, and it's just a snowball effect. So, in a week, in 2 weeks, we'll probably know a lot more. A lot of these, where I am, they instituted the whole hunker down thing about a week ago. But it takes at least a week for that data to be reflected in actual virus stats and all that, because people don't notice symptoms for a long time. And so in the next 5 to 7 days, we'll really start to see if some of these things that have been implemented are working effectively and are starting to reduce that R number down, and so things don't grow as exponentially as they were, or they could, and they have in other countries. So but the measures taken in the US and most other countries should at least slow the spread of the virus enough not to overwhelm the system. That's what it seems like. I've seen lots of different models, and again, there's so many unknowns that it's hard to tell for sure. But over time, we'll be getting more and more data the more we go, both on how well the things we're doing are working. Just that data will be delayed by a week or more, and then just what else is happening with the virus. Is the warm weather going to slow it down? There's indications that it might, but there's good indications that it might. The biggest thing to me is, I think I have that here. Yeah, scientists are already finding potential treatments that could help, and vaccines are being created. So that's another big piece of it. I saw that there's a very inexpensive, readily available treatment for malaria that may help. The sample size that they tested it on was very small. I think it was 16 patients that had it, 16 patients that didn't. And so that's way too small to know anything for sure. But the difference between those two sets of people was just amazing. It was just huge how much more better, I guess, the ones that had that treatment did. And if that's the case, that's something that could be implemented very, very quickly, and kind of get things back to normal as quickly as possible. So, but what I've been talking about a lot with Neil and other business people, here's the thing: if people need to hunker down or lock down, they can only put off certain things for so long. People can stop going to restaurants and bars. They may not be happy about it, but they can do that. They can stay mostly in their house and watch Netflix and stuff for a fairly long time. People will start to get restless after several weeks, or certainly after a couple months. But things that are kind of fun, like definite wants instead of needs, can be put off for an extended period of time. But there's lots of things that, this week they said hunker down, stay in your house, and that's what we did. But and so anything that I had a dentist appointment yesterday that was scheduled for yesterday. I put that off till next week or the week after probably, and again we'll see how things go as to whether that will happen. But for a lot of those things, for car maintenance, for work on your house, for a plumber, for an electrician, you can only put those things off so far. That's not the kind of thing that it's just like, oh, well, maybe in a few months, I'll do this thing that I had already planned to do this week. There's only so long you can put things off. And when you do, there's going to be a big wave of people all ready to do that thing that they have been putting off. And I think that's important to consider. For most of our clients not in the service industry, this doesn't apply to restaurants, hotels, airlines, things like that. That's going to take a little longer to ramp back up, because it's not tied to, it's not something that has to be done but can be put off. That's stuff that people just cancel. But beyond that, there will still be a large portion of the previous demand for these services. Now, if it looks like we're entering a recession, the demand will probably be reduced somewhat. But once we come out of all this, whether it's in a couple weeks or a couple months, it's the demand for the type of things that we usually, the type of clients that we serve so well, auto mechanics and automotive aftermarket specialists, real estate agents, contractors, plumbers, electricians, dentists, chiropractors. It's all going to be, the demand for those services are all going to be pretty similar to what they were before. If there's a recession happening, the demand may go down a little bit, but then they need us even more, and we'll talk about that as well. So any questions so far? I haven't seen anything come through the box, but if you have any questions about what I've talked about so far, I won't bore you too long with my story, but I think it's relevant to this. So I left my day job at a university in 2008. It was April 1st. And so I'm coming up on, 12 years since I did that. And I was doing well with affiliate marketing, selling affiliate websites. My wife had left her job about a year and a half before to be a stay-at-home mom. And we had saved up some money, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this full time. I'm going to leave my job. I'm going to do this affiliate thing, and it worked very well for a few months, and so well, in fact, that my wife and I and our oldest, who was our only child at the time, who was about 18 months old, went backpacking around Europe for a few weeks, and it was while we were there that the markets crashed and completely tanked, and it took a few weeks, maybe even a couple months before it really had a huge effect, but it had a very clear effect that my model was not going to be working going forward. My revenue was cut by 75% within a few months. And so I needed to pivot. I needed to find out, how can I take what I do now and make it make money in this economy? And so what I did was I opened a local marketing agency. I figured, it's not recession proof for sure, but it's recession resistant, because there's always going to be businesses that need help. Most of what I did at the time then was build websites, which I realize now is, marketing services are probably even more recession proof than websites. Website is something you can put off a little bit if you already have one, and it's just not very good. But it did very well. Business owners, businesses are different from consumers in that businesses know they need to spend money to make money. They need to, if they don't spend money, then the leads are going to dry up, and their business is going to go bankrupt. So whereas consumers can say, oh, things are a little tight, let's not do that kitchen remodel we planned, or let's not take that trip that we had planned. Businesses can't afford to do that, because if they don't keep up with the competition, they're going to go under. So while the government was bailing out banks, I was meeting business owners and starting this agency that has just continued to grow and grow and grow, and eventually merged with others. And then Neil and I became partners, and all of that over the last 12 years. But it all started right in the middle of a recession. So I would not, I know some people have worried about, is this the right time to start this, or I don't have enough customers to have a full-time income yet. Is everybody just going to fire me? And the answer in general is no, certainly not if you're doing well for them. And there's a lot of reasons for that. The primary of which is that during a recession, most businesses slow down at least a little, but that means they need our help more than ever, quite frankly. If they have to get new clients, it's the one thing they can't afford to not do. So, if I'll tell a story in a minute, but a client talked to me yesterday about their budget and all this kind of stuff, and they still need clients. That hasn't changed just because times are a little harder all of a sudden. Their need for getting new clients is not changing. So And what it all comes down to really is our model. Pay us $1 and we'll make you $2 is basically what we do. That's what we're in the business of. If whatever they pay us, they need to be making more than that for it to make sense. So there's whatever they pay us, they're getting back and more. And so there's no reason in the world why they would stop doing that. So anyway, I'll tell that story. Like many people, I've been worried this week. What does this mean? What is this going to do to the agency? What is this going to do to everything? And I got so I've been thinking like, oh man, what if clients decide to cancel their contracts? And I got a text from a client the other week, or I'm sorry, the other day. It was just Wednesday night, and he said, I need your advice on adjusting the Google Ads budget. And I was like, all right, here's the first one. He's gonna try and cut back and conserve here. And so I was like, well, let me look at some numbers and I'll get back to you and we can discuss. And so I did. And then yesterday I sent him information and I said, what are your goals? Are you reducing staff? Are you cutting back on certain things? Are you changing what service? Are you cutting back on certain services that aren't as essential? What's your primary goal? And he said, well, I want to get as many clients as possible. That's my goal, is to get as much business coming in the door as I can. And it wasn't until then that I went back and looked at his initial text and realized that, when he said, I need your advice on adjusting my Google Ads budget, he probably meant that he was trying to increase it. He's trying to get more clients. He sees that getting clients is becoming a little harder, and he knows that paying us $1 is getting him $2 in general, and so he wants to increase that. He wants to pay us $10 and get 20, basically. So it's important to realize this, because this is, again, when all this started happening, I was worried. And the more I've talked to my clients this week, the more I realized that no client has said anything about scaling back. And that's not to say that it's not possible, but they need us again. They need us now more than ever. So it's unlikely that this will mean any kind of short-term and probably not any medium-term drawback for a local agency, whether you have clients or whether you're prospecting for clients. Now, this week, when everybody's kind of hunkered down, and maybe next week and however long that lasts, maybe a little harder to bring in new clients than usual. But again, like, as I said a couple slides ago, this is not a permanent thing. People aren't going to be hunkered down, staying in their house and not leaving forever, and probably not even for all that long. I'm on the optimistic side, but I realize that it's possible it could last longer than I'd like, but it's not going to last so long that it becomes impossible to get new clients this year and bring in, grow your business and bring in a lot of stuff. So most businesses will make it through a recession, and we are an essential piece for that. We are going to help them make it through this recession by working our magic and doing what we do. So any questions? I haven't seen anything come through. Now would be a perfect time. I'm going to get a quick sip of water, and then we'll move on to the next thing. All right. Don't see anything. So all right. Things to do now. So if you currently have clients, talk to them. For about a day at the beginning of the week, I was like, oh no, if I call them up, are they going to say like, oh well, it's time to scale some things back? But again, that's not the case. That's not going to be the case for the majority of businesses. We need to be proactive. We need to talk to them and say, look, all these things are happening, and we can help you. We can make some adjustments that help you even more during this crazy time. So I always like to say, turn a bug into a feature. I say that all the time. And one of the instances that I learned back when I created my business during the recession is, hey, I'm this brand new business. I'm mostly building websites. I don't have a lot in my portfolio. I created a few things that I could show people examples of what we could do. But, if when I meet somebody and I say, hey, I can build your website, and they say, well, show me what other businesses have you worked with? Who have you built websites for in the past? And of course, the answer was, well, nobody. I haven't worked with anybody yet. And that's a perceived bug, but we could turn it into a feature. And that's what I did. I would be like, look, we're brand new. We're just starting out. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing for you, because I'm going to be able to give all my attention to you and give you a lower price than you would get with anybody else. And so that's what it means to turn a bug into a feature. And that's what we can do right now. We've already started to put things in place in our own agency to offer things that recognize where businesses are right now and approach them in a way that helps them. So, for example, this time when everybody's this time when everybody's hunkered down and no one is going out there and getting things, if we wanted to approach businesses in the service industry or businesses that are most directly affected by this, that may seem like, well, of course they're not going to want to spend money right now and do all this stuff, but this is actually an opportunity. They're not working as much as they normally would. And if we can approach them and say, hey, look, we know that hard, and so here's what we can do. This is the perfect time for you to redo your website. That's, not many people are going to it right now, so we can build you a new website and we'll charge you half our normal price and you don't have to pay us until July. So that's helping them in a big way. It's getting us new business, and it's just a win-win situation all around. So that's what we need to do. We need to think of ways that we can help for any business, especially ones that we approach cold. That's another thing, is for the first 6 months, we know all this stuff is happening. We know it's a little crazy. So what we're going to do is we're going to get you more customers during this period of tough times and uncertainty, but we're going to do it for half price. And you're going to love it so much that we know you're just going to keep us on indefinitely. So that makes us look good. It makes more sense for them, and it shows them that, again, we're always trying to show them that we're more interested in helping them than we are in just taking their money, and that shows that to them. So how can our marketing message change to recognize our prospects' fears and address that? So get in their head. Think about what is this potential business owner worried about? A plumber. I talked to one of our plumber clients yesterday, and he talked about a little bit about what he's worried about. He's not super worried because, again, if people are at home, problems that happen with their pipes and toilets and stuff are probably actually more likely to happen rather than less. He expects his commercial work to go down slightly, but he expects his residential work to improve. And he was looking for ways to make sure to modify the marketing a bit, just to make sure people are comfortable hiring them. And so we talked about, what are you implementing to make people feel more comfortable with having you and your team in their home? And so we went over like the measures they're taking. They're wearing certain things on their hands and their feet. They're making sure that they don't come within a certain distance from the customers. They're moving all of their payments to online, so they don't need to take a pen from the plumber. They don't need to sign the form like right there to reduce the chances of any kind of virus transmission. And so, he's worried about various things, and we're changing our marketing message for them. That's what I just talked about, was actually that last point. So they're similar. How can we change our marketing message to recognize our prospects' fears? And then how can we modify our clients' marketing message to better close customers for them? So what we did with that plumber was that second one. You know, we're modifying their marketing in a way that helps them look good to their clients and helps their clients feel, their customers feel more comfortable working with them. We're working with a home improvement company. We created an ad campaign just over the last 2 days where the concept is something like, you know, you take care of your family, we'll take care of your home, or you know, something to that effect. And you know, it says, you know, this company, we're still fully operational to help you with your roofing and siding, and because that's the kind of company they are. And you know, it's exterior stuff, so there doesn't have to be a lot of contact with the people that live inside the house. And it just it shows they care. It shows, and they're offering really good payment terms. So, you know, no money down, no payments for 18 months or whatever. And so that makes people feel more comfortable. Also, with the economic uncertainty, because, you know, they have these great payment terms. And so, again, we're working on modifying our clients' marketing message to better close customers for them. And as for how our marketing message can change, you know, that's kind of related to the turning a bug into a feature. You know, we're recognizing how our clients are probably feeling. You know, they're worried about a recession. They're unsure of, you know, how and if they're going to have to modify their services or their staff or whatever to be able to react to whatever change there may be in demand, depending on what industry they're in. And so, you know, we should be coming in, our marketing message should be, you know, reaching out and saying, how can we help, instead of saying, pay us and we'll do awesome things for you. You know, we never want to come across as too brash, but I think, you know, there's something to be said for a marketing message that just says like, look, we can get you clients and we are really good at that and you should hire us for that. But right now, within this time of uncertainty, I think a marketing message that's a little softer, that that just says like, look, we know there's a lot of uncertainty going on, and we can help with that, and we can help you get these clients. We would love to sit down and talk to you. It's going to go a lot further in this in this climate, in this environment. So that is all I have prepared. And now is the perfect time to ask questions. It is also the final time to ask questions before we cut out of here. I am happy to stick around for as long as you would like, so please don't hesitate to post something in the question box. Happy to answer any questions about starting or running an agency during a large recession. My opinions about what the next several months holds. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty. I certainly don't have all the answers, but I do have some opinions about what, based on what I've seen before and based on the data that I have gone through, as to, you know, what the next several months could hold, or would be more or less likely to hold, as far as businesses and local marketing. So I'll get a quick sip of water, and if you have any final questions, please post them now. All right, I see Eric has a question about rep management. You said, how much is automated versus manual in terms of setup and monthly monitoring? I'm assuming you mean just like kind of how much work it takes to keep a client going using the software. And if that is the case, it's mostly auto. Like once you set it up, there's not a whole lot to do. You probably want to go in there every once in a while just to look at things and make sure everything's going well, and also seeing, you know, what kind of reviews they're getting and all of that, so you can properly communicate with them about the rep management that you're doing. But no, once you set it up and give them the information and kind of implement the things, you know, train their staff if you're doing the checkout review or whatever, you know, train them on what to do, maybe print out some business cards for them to hand out with that review link on it. And but once that's all kind of in place, there really isn't all that much else to do periodically other than keep an eye on it and communicate with the client. Clive says, are you noticing you are getting more bang for your ad buck in these times? In some cases, not in all cases, but in some, yes. We have noticed that some companies, including a lot that, obviously you'd expect businesses that like have had to shut down or mostly shut down to stop advertising. But clients like plumbers, home improvement people, and auto repair, and those, we have seen where some of their competitors have taken their ads down, and so now we're getting lower priced ads and more clicks. In many of those cases, we are still getting a lower conversion rate than before. Whereas 2 weeks ago, that client would normally get about 100 calls a week through our tracking. Now they're getting 75 or 80, and that has a lot to do with the uncertainty and all of that. But we are getting a better bang for our ad buck for sure. Our cost per click is going down. We're still building all our remarketing lists. So it does seem like this stuff is having a negative effect to some degree. But again, number one, it's relatively temporary for most of the types of businesses we work with. And number two, we're still doing a lot to help them, obviously. If we can look at this and say, well, you got fewer calls than you would in a normal week, but we can also say, look, you got 75 calls that you would not have otherwise gotten from clients looking to buy what you are selling. And that's very, very important, obviously, to any business. So, but yes, in short, it seems like people are dropping out of advertising, and we can take advantage of that. And that's something I probably should have mentioned during the presentation. So anything else? No problem. All right, so I don't see anything else coming through. I'll give it a few more minutes. I want to make sure that that I answer everyone's questions. But yeah, if you have anything else, otherwise, if you're watching this on the replay, or if you remember, think of something afterwards, feel free to come to our Facebook group. If you're not a member, it's called Digital Client Mastermind. Just search for that on Facebook and join our group, and just post your question there. We'll see it, and so will several other very smart people, and you'll kind of get community advice on whatever you have a question about. If you have a technical question or have trouble with anything from a technical standpoint, accessing any of our courses, seeing anything, send it to support@marketmainframe.com, and we'll get you taken care of there. So thanks again for hanging out with me today, guys. I hope that this was a helpful and useful talk for everyone. And if you need anything, just let us know. And so we'll be back next month. We'll probably go back to our normal schedule. I imagine we'll look at what the upcoming courses are and what's most relevant, but we'll probably do the real estate and mortgage broker related marketing things that we had planned for today initially. But you never know. There's always going to be interesting topics. You can be sure of that. So what days do we normally have these trainings? Eric asks. It varies. You can see it in GoToWebinar. It says what the upcoming schedule is. It's usually a Friday somewhere near the middle of the month, but it's not always like the second Friday or the third Friday or whatever. We just kind of mapped it out based on our schedule and like that. But it's usually a Friday somewhere near the middle of the month. So yeah. So I don't know what the next one. It'll probably be April. What was that? 15th or 22nd? Probably one of them. Probably the 15th, I think, is I would guess. But yeah, probably one of those. So, all right. Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll talk soon.